The beat of the drum ripples through the air, carrying its vibration into every soul gathered around the shaman. Rhythmic chanting follows the drum, pulling the people into another state of existence.
The reality they once knew begins to shift, becoming unrecognizable. It feels as though they've stepped into a new world, one hidden just a breath away from their ordinary one. And the drum is the bridge that carried them there.
The shaman continues to chant. Today is no ordinary day. Today, the tribe believes that, guided by their shaman, they will reach beyond the veil and connect with the spirits of their ancestors, seeking wisdom and guidance.
Now imagine another circle, far removed from tribal fires, a candlelit room. People sit around a table, hands joined, chanting the name of Albert Einstein. Yes, Einstein, gone for more than 70 years, yet they hear a voice respond within their minds answering questions. Online, YouTube floods with channeling videos, voices of the Pope, Princess Diana, Nikola Tesla, even JFK.
For centuries, humans have tried to reach the dead. Why?
To ease the pain of separation, to know that loved ones are safe in another realm, to hear words of guidance and comfort that cannot be found elsewhere. This is why mediums, shamans, and channelers never disappear. They're dismissed, often ridiculed, yet people continue to seek them, because the longing to connect with the departed is part of what makes us human.
And now, what was once dismissed as fantasy is becoming fact. What happens when headsets, screens, and code replace the chants of shamans and the whispers of mediums? Are there any real-life examples of that?
Jang Ji-sung, a South Korean mother, straps on her VR headset. She blinks, and there, standing before her in a sunlit park, is her beloved 7-year-old daughter, Nayeon. Gone too soon, lost to a rare illness, yet now reaching out as if no time had passed. "Mommy, did you miss me?" the child asks in a tender, synthesized voice. Tears stream down Jang's face as she whispers back, "I always have." The virtual Nayeon bends to pick a flower, placing it gently into her mother's hand. "You can see that I'm not hurting anymore, right?" she says, smiling with the innocence of a child freed from pain. Jang reaches out, her touch guided by special VR gloves. And though the form is digital, crafted from 3D modeling, motion capture, and voice synthesis, the moment feels achingly real. The encounter was filmed for the 2020 South Korean documentary, Meeting You, created by Viv Studios. Using photos, recordings, and the movements of a child actor, they gave Nayeon a new presence in a virtual world. For Jang, it was like stepping into a dream. Painful, yes, but also healing. She later said she wanted to love her daughter more than she missed her, so that when they met again, she could be stronger. The video of their reunion spread across the globe, stirring millions of viewers. Some called it beautiful, even miraculous, a way for grief to find a voice. Others found it unsettling, questioning whether such simulations soothe the heart or keep wounds open.
What began as an experiment in China has already become an industry. In cities like Nanjing, families are turning to companies that offer what they openly call digital resurrection services. The process is both simple and profound. A parent provides recordings of a lost child, or a grandchild uploads the memories of a beloved grandmother. From photos, videos, voice notes, and text archives, an avatar is created. Sometimes a voice that speaks back through a screen, other times a three-dimensional figure in virtual reality.
Already, more than 600 families have stepped into these digital reunions. Mothers and fathers have spoken once more to the children they buried. Grandchildren have sat across from digital elders, hearing their stories retold in voices they thought were gone forever. For these families, the experience can feel like a second chance, a chance to say goodbye, to hear reassurance, or to hold on to presence just a little longer.
The hopeful uses are undeniable. Parents who never had the chance to say farewell may finally hear their child's voice one more time. Family histories that might have been lost can be preserved in ways far more personal than photographs or letters. Even across generations, children not yet born could one day meet their great-grandparents as living, speaking avatars. For some families in China, these avatars are treasured gifts, a way to keep love alive, even across death's divide. For others, they are troubling illusions. But one truth is undeniable. What shamans once promised in whispers and mediums in darkened rooms is now being delivered in bright, high-resolution pixels. The longing to connect with the dead is universal, and technology is learning how to answer that longing.
The story continues across the ocean to the United States. Sitting at the desk in a studio is Jim Acosta, a well-known CNN anchor. He's interviewed presidents and global leaders. Today, his guest is different. In August 2025, the person across from him was not a politician nor an academic. It was a young man, calm and composed, speaking with conviction.
The young man was Joaquin Oliver.
And yet Joaquin has been gone since 2018. He was one of the 17 students killed in the Parkland school shooting in Florida, a tragedy that scarred the nation and reignited debates about gun violence in America. 7 years later, his parents, determined to keep his voice alive, worked with technologists to create an AI-generated avatar of their son. Using Joaquin's own writings, his digital traces, and a synthesized voice, they gave form to a likeness that could speak again. During the interview, the AI Joaquin spoke directly about gun violence prevention. He urged for a safer future, shaped by stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. He spoke of building safe spaces, of fostering kindness and understanding, values he hoped could outlive him.
In lighter moments, the AI avatar reminisced about basketball, about favorite memories from Star Wars, and remembered the Titans. These glimpses of personality, the small details that make someone human, were what made the exchange all the more haunting.
For a moment, it felt as though Joaquin had returned. His words carried weight. His voice echoed with conviction. His presence felt tangible, even if only rendered in pixels and code.
And yet, beneath that moment lies a deeper question. Was this truly Joaquin, or only a carefully woven echo stitched together by algorithms? And another question emerges. Who is Jim Acosta here? In this encounter, does he remain only a journalist conducting an interview? Or, by facilitating a dialogue with the voice of someone long gone, has he stepped into the role of a modern-day channeler, a medium not through a ritual or trance, but through the tools of AI and technology?
For Joaquin's parents, the avatar was a way to continue the advocacy their son believed in, to ensure his voice was not silenced by tragedy. For some viewers, it was moving, a glimpse of love and justice reaching beyond the grave. For others, it was unsettling.
Regardless of the perspective, one truth is clear. The boundaries between life and death are no longer fixed. With every avatar created, every conversation recorded, technology pulls us deeper into a world where even those we have lost can still sit across from us and speak.
Yes, from individual families to global newsrooms, the pattern is unmistakable. The dead are finding their voices again. From here, we step into an era of digital resurrection. No longer is it a myth whispered around the fire or a séance performed in shadowed rooms.
like what is happening in quiet labs at Indiana University, where researchers are experimenting with what some now call griefbots or deadbots. The process begins with memory. Families bring in fragments of a life, photos, voicemails, text messages, years of social media posts, even hours of video. Every laugh, every phrase, every quirky turn of speech is preserved. These fragments are then fed into artificial intelligence systems that don't just copy, but learn to mimic the voice, vocabulary, and rhythms of the person who has died.
When a grieving relative asks a question, "Do you remember my birthday party?" Or, "What advice would you give me now?" the grief bot doesn't simply play back an old recording.
I stitched together fragments you thought were lost. Speak, and I will answer with echoes of who they were.
It generates new answers, stitched together from the patterns it has learned. The response comes back in the familiar voice of the departed, carrying the cadence and tone that feel like home.
At Indiana University, researchers such as Alan Dennis and Antino Kim frame these avatars as tools to study how people use digital memories to process grief. They stress that recreating a personality is harder than building a face or a voice. It takes countless examples of conversation to capture how someone thinks, not just what they sound like.
But outside the university, companies are already taking the next step. One of the most prominent is Eternos. Founded by Michael Baumer, Eternos was born from a personal vision. Diagnosed with a terminal illness, Baumer created an AI version of himself shortly before his death. In his final days, he took comfort knowing that his wife, children, and grandchildren would still be able to talk with him, to hear his life stories, his opinions, even his jokes, long after he was gone.
As Mel Longdon, Eternos' head of customer success, explained, "People often say, 'I wish I could just talk to my dad again,' or 'I wish I could ask my grandmother what she thinks.' Eternos makes that possible. Families upload letters, chats, recordings, and videos and receive back an interactive legacy, a chatbot, or even a video avatar capable of conversation in the likeness of their loved one."
For some, this technology offers deeply hopeful uses. A child might still hear bedtime stories told in the voice of a parent who has passed. Future generations could meet their ancestors, not just through photographs or genealogy charts, but by asking them questions and listening to their stories. Instead of fading into silence, voices can remain as living legacies. For some, grief bots are unsettling. For others, they are a gift. Either way, they mark a new stage in how humanity remembers and how we carry those we've lost into the future.
And some people choose not to wait until they are gone. They sit before a camera, answer questions, tell stories, and leave behind hours of recorded memories.
Through services like Storyfile or You Only Virtual, they craft what technologists call generative ghosts, digital doubles that will continue speaking in their place long after they themselves have vanished. These voices are not trapped in the past. They grow, they adapt, they answer new questions as though the person were still alive.
So you might think, okay, everyday people, but surely not Einstein or Kennedy or Tesla.
Nonetheless, pause. Every moment of our lives now leaves a digital trace. Videos, writings, tweets, podcasts, emails.
So, in 100 years, who's to say you won't be able to sit across from an avatar of Elon Musk or speak with a digital Greta Thunberg?
In virtual spaces, life and death blur.
Therefore, beyond private grief is the same technology stepping into the halls of museums.
Yes, imagine walking through an exhibit and coming face to face with a Holocaust survivor, a civil rights leader, or a pioneering scientist. Through StoryFile's conversational video AI, visitors can do more than read plaques or listen to pre-recorded lectures. They can ask direct questions. What was the most difficult moment of your life? Or what gave you hope? And the digital figure responds, speaking with the voice, expression, and wisdom of someone long gone. At the Illinois Holocaust Museum, a group of school children gathers in a darkened theater. Before them, on the stage, sits a man who seems as real as if he had just walked into the room. His name is Aaron Elster.
The children lean forward, curious. One raises a hand and asks a question. What was your life like during the war?
The man shifts, looks directly at the student, and begins to answer. His voice is calm, steady, carrying the weight of memory. He tells them about being born in 1933 in a small Polish village called Sokolo Podlaski. He recalls the war beginning when he was only 6. He remembers the ghetto, the fear, the day his mother told him to go to the Gursky family, who hid him in their attic. Two years in silence and darkness, until liberation finally came in 1945.
The children listen in awe, some hardly breathing. For them, history has come alive. Not a passage in a book, but a human voice, looking into their eyes, answering their questions in real time.
What they do not realize at first is that Aaron Elster passed away in April 2018. The man before them is a holographic avatar, part of the museum's Abe and Ida Cooper Survivor Stories experience. Using advanced video capture, interactive programming, and thousands of hours of recorded testimony, Aaron's image was preserved so that even after his death, he could continue speaking to future generations.
When Scripps News visited the museum while Aaron was still alive, he once surprised a group of children by walking in after they had just finished interacting with his virtual self. Their gasps and laughter showed the uncanny power of the technology. The living and digital versions standing side by side, both carrying the same truth.
Now, years after his passing, Aaron Elster continues to teach. His hologram answers questions not just about the past, but about lessons for today, about hate, resilience, and the power of memory. In that theater, the children realize something profound. The dead can still speak. They can guide. They can warn. And in that moment, Aaron Elster, gone from this world, remains a teacher, a guide, a storyteller for generations he never met.
So, if history itself can now speak, how will it change the way we learn, remember, and believe? What is the future outlook on digital immortality and VR preservation?
If the present feels uncanny, the future is even more staggering. What once belonged only to philosophers and dreamers is now written as a roadmap. Digital immortality. Step by step, it is unfolding before us. It begins with gathering. Every photograph we post, every email we write, every voice note we leave behind, small scraps of our daily lives, become the raw material for something greater. Then comes codification. Algorithms sift through the fragments, organizing them, weaving patterns, turning scattered memories into something coherent, something ready to be awakened. Next is activation. The archive begins to breathe. It does not sit silent, locked away in files. It speaks, it answers, it interacts. And finally, embodiment. The voice gains a face, the gestures of the hand, the tilt of the head. The archive is no longer a collection of data, but a presence, a digital being standing in front of us, alive in ways that blur the line between memory and reality.
Digital cloning is already here. We watch as singers who died decades ago return to the stage, their voices ringing out in stadiums once more. We see leaders deliver speeches long after their bodies have turned to dust. These replicas are hyper-realistic, so close to life that it becomes difficult to tell where the human ended and the digital began.
One of the most ambitious visions comes from Dmitry Itskov, a Russian entrepreneur and billionaire who made his fortune through his Moscow-based media company, New Media Stars. Having earned over £1 billion from publishing, Itskov turned his wealth and imagination toward a different frontier, the human soul. In 2011, he launched the 2045 Initiative, a project with a bold and unsettling roadmap to free humanity from the limits of biology. The vision is laid out in stages.
The first step is robotic avatars, machines controlled directly by the human brain through brain-computer interfaces. The second, transplanting a living human brain into such a body, giving a person a new physical form as their natural one fails. The third, scanning, decoding, and uploading the very patterns of the brain, its memories, personality, and consciousness into a digital substrate. From there, minds could inhabit holograms, androids, or entirely virtual worlds. By 2045, Itskov imagines humanity transformed into a neo-humanity, where death itself is optional.
What once seemed like myth, the quest for immortality, is now presented as a possible chapter of human history. A roadmap sketched not by shamans or prophets, but by technologists and billionaires. The path has already begun.
But if the body no longer limits us, if we can walk in robotic shells, speak from holograms, or live forever as digital minds, what will it mean to be human? What is the VR and metaverse angle on that?
As these visions stretch toward the far horizon, the building blocks are already being laid.
Companies like Meta are constructing the scaffolding. In Horizon worlds, people gather in digital towns, custom avatars drifting through concerts, meetings, and games. Engagement may still be modest, but it points towards something more enduring, a virtual society where identity itself can take on a second life.
Meanwhile, researchers are pushing deeper, developing brain-computer interfaces that allow direct neural control of avatars. These aren't just cartoonish stand-ins, but what technologists call digital twins, replicas designed to reflect not just how you look, but how you are.
A digital twin is more than a 3D likeness. It is built by gathering streams of data, your voice, your movements, even your physiological signals, and mapping them onto an intelligent model. With enough information, a twin can reproduce your tone of speech, the rhythm of your gestures, even your emotional responses.
Different fields are already experimenting with them. Healthcare is developing patient digital twins to simulate how a body might respond to treatments before they are tried in real life.
Workplace settings. Imagine digital twins as collaborative partners, virtual colleagues that carry your knowledge and preferences into meetings you cannot attend.
AI research, like that at NTT, envisions human digital twins that are cognitive mirrors, constantly learning from your daily choices to help you make better ones, or even continuing to act on your behalf after you're gone.
The unsettling promise is this: a twin may remain even after you no longer can. It may continue to speak in your voice, laugh with your smile, and carry forward the essence of you, part companion, part legacy, part ghost. But when your avatar carries on without you, who will decide what it says And who will it truly represent? You or the machine? What are the current predictions and possibilities? What should we expect to see in the world of digital channeling next?
The path ahead unfolds like a series of thresholds, each one carrying us further into a world where the dead no longer remain silent. In the next few years, the presence of grief avatars will become common. Families will no longer hesitate to open an app and speak with the likeness of a lost parent or child. Legacy recordings, voices carefully preserved, stories archived for future generations, will sit alongside what technologists call generative ghosts. Digital companions that continue the conversation as though death were only a pause. What is now novel will become ordinary.
By the 2030s, these avatars will no longer remain confined to screens. They will step into vast virtual landscapes, walking freely in digital cities and meeting halls. Brain-computer interfaces will allow us to guide them with our thoughts, to blend human intention with artificial presence. Yet, even as this new reality expands, society will wrestle with questions the technology cannot answer. Who owns a digital self? What rights does an avatar hold? Where does grief end and exploitation begin? The laws and ethics will stumble behind the pace of innovation.
And by the middle of the century, the unthinkable may no longer be impossible. Experiments in brain uploading will test the boundaries of identity. Holograms will shimmer with the gestures of those long gone. Entire minds clothed in code rather than flesh may live on in ways that make true digital immortality more than a dream. Each step brings us closer to a horizon where life and death blur, where memory breathes, and where the ancient longing to keep our voices alive may finally find its answer.
And when that horizon arrives, will we embrace it or fear what we have created? The drum was once believed to carry the spirit of the tribe into the world of their ancestors. Today, technology carries us across a new threshold. The line between the living and the dead is fading. Not in myth, but in reality.
For centuries, we dismissed such ideas of communicating with the dead as fantasy. Too strange to be believed. But look around. Griefbots, avatars, and digital resurrections are already here.
Perhaps it's time we stopped brushing off the impossible. Perhaps we no longer dismiss those who don't fit neatly into our standards, and instead ask, what message are they trying to convey?
Maybe it's time we recognize that what once sounded implausible is quietly becoming our reality.
Fiction is no longer fiction. It is a fact. The only question left is, are we ready to live with it?